Mic muted. YouTube, welcome back to another episode. I don't know what this arc is called yet. It's Hanyu Bat story arc. Hanyu before she became addicted to jumbo cream buffs. This is why you have to eat healthy, boys. See, see Hanyu before from last episode versus Hanyu after in Minaduroshi. You hate to see it. Anyways, yeah, last time we got a bit of action. And by action, I mean Hanyu killing demons with a sword and saving, I guess, what would be the Furude child. So yeah, I mean, let's just continue. We know how the story ends, kinda, but let's see what happens in between. I believe eventually Hanyu like marries the kid she saved. I think we'll see. There was a small pond through a forest not far off the path that led to Yadoichi. It was originally created when one of the outflows of a mountain stream was alterated by irrigation to create new rice fields, and water accumulated in the basin. Though the stream is dammed there, the water is always clear and pristine for some reason. On the other hand, the bottom of the pond was as deep as darkness, and despite its immaculate appearance, there were no signs of any fish or insects living there. A very eerie pond to say at least. That's interesting. So obviously this is the Onidafuchi swamp. But right now it's a pond, even though it's still bottomless and kind of spooky. It's not a swamp, so it actually looks cool. It gets swampified later, I guess. Thus, it was considered inhospitable to the villagers and not used as a daily watering hole, so hardly anyone visited it. I mean, that's one way to interpret it. It's actually a pretty good way to explain something with a superstition, because it is kind of spooky. It was the pond where the demon god Oyasho-sama dwelled, hence the name Onidafuchi. Those superstitions became credible legends, and thus everyone, from conservative elders to innocently curious children, were indoctrinated to never go there. Thanks to that, the nearby forest was uncultivated, and the trees grew so thick that they blocked out the sun, creating a dark, eerie, and taboo atmosphere in the daytime. I guess that's why it gets swampified. There's no humans touch it, and eventually... Actually, I don't know how swamps are formed. But I assume it's because, like, since it's so untouched, the vegetation just keeps growing and growing. And it becomes a swamp. Ah! You know? It's a great time to doodle. How does a body of water become a swamp? Some former lakes or ponds are overtaken by trees and shrubs. Freshwater swamps form around lakes and streams. Rain and seasonal flooding causes water levels to fluctuate in the wet soil. Yeah, okay, basically I was right. Since it's left alone so much, like no one cuts the trees or steps on it, the vegetation just grows and grows into a swamp. That's why I'm the smartest Higurashi, Canadian Higurashi gamer ever, okay? Anyways. Yisamul. I will at least say Hanyu is an upgraded name than Yisamul. I muttered that to myself as I approached the swamp and stepped forward. Next, I knelt down by the edge of the swamp and gently sank my palm on the surface of the seemingly bottomless water. I still think this is how she got her name Hanyu, because you can make Hanyu out of this, kinda. You know, Hanyu, just remove the R and the I? Maybe? Yeah, there's no I. There's no R. Maybe that's a stretch and the end. I mean, this literally just sounds like... I mean, I guess they did say Hanyu was an alien, so this just sounds like she's an alien and the demons were aliens too. Maybe. I was trying to make the name, but I couldn't see any. Beamed up. Actually? Actually beamed up the moment the response to that area arrived. I'm guessing that's a word and not a misspelled area. Just look it up. Area. Not seeing anything. Area definition. Alon accompanied San for a solo voice. Probably not that. Or maybe it is. Actually, I think that's right. Now that I look at it. It is a solo voice coming out of nowhere, maybe. The surface of the water sparkled in the colors of the rainbow, and a dazzling white light engulfed my line of sight. Afterwards, the scenery transformed to an indigo-hued space, with my figure hovering in the center of it like a floating projection. Beamed up to the Sea of Fragments. Eventually, a light shined off in the dark distance, and I could hear a voice echoing directly within my brain. Ryun, oh heck. She was an autonomous data aggregation that possessed a will of her own. To be more exact, she wasn't a living being, but a kind of super integrated circuit made up of several operators. An interdimensional transfer device developed by the Ryun clan Linos, also known as the Control Gate. So yeah, literally aliens. Based. She was built to control one of those, but I made my own improvements to her. Now she was in charge of governing the actions of me and my brethren who had assimilated around the Onidofuchi village area. And though she had no form, she learned to simulate creature-like feelings and character through her exchanges with me based on a huge amount of knowledge and records. She had the voice and the tone of an innocent little girl, but she'd existed in Onidofuchi before I was even born, and was far older than me mentally. Therefore, she was my partner of many years, and like a friend to me. The Oni? It's a while. I drew my sword from my sheath at my left hip as I said that, pointing the blade sideways at the light. The blade was densely coated in hardened black bloodstains, and nicked in various places. Okay, get that fixed up. Instant repair, thank you. Right when Ryun Ok said that, it's like an RPG where they just instantly repair it at the blacksmith, even though it would take a while. Small clusters of grains emitted from the light and flew towards me. They spread wide near my outstretched hand and engulfed the whole sword as if grabbing it. Nanomachines? But this is like weird. Because like we've seen the Sea of Fragments before, but it sounds like these people like literally like obviously people, the witches live in it or whatever, but it seems like they have like a whole estate or whatever. This whole clan just in it somewhere. You think we're gonna see what's her face? What's her face? Feathering? I don't know. I mean, obviously she makes her appearance in the other Higurashi, but Would they show her here? I don't know.
ただ、完全に修復するには自転周期でおよそ10単位必要です。
Hmm? Okay, so I lied. It's not like an RPG. It is taking some time. There you go. I got owned.
ほぼ打ち直しに近い期間だな。いえ、ほぼではなく実際に打ち直しです。
Okay.
分析したところ、頭身全体に血のりと油垢が何重にも固まって、
Jesus, that sounds gnarly.
この状態で通常のハトギを行っても、あなたの相場以下のエイリ度しか回復できないです。
Claws.
そんなにか。それに、つば元あたりがひどくひび割れて折れる寸前です。ジェダ、歯が鈍った状態のままで戦闘を無理に続行しましたね。よくわかったな。もう3度目ですから。
I instinctively grimace at the back and forth you'd normally hear from a cheeky kid. I know she's worried about my health, but it's no fun when she points it out so accurately.
相当な激戦だったのだ。仕方がなかろう。歯だけでも保っておきたかったが、人間たちの砥石では脆すぎて使い物にならなかったしな。
Damn, that's a sharp blade then.
それに。
Well, can't really blame the humans. You have like some alien sword. I don't think, just from how it was shown, it's obviously not the Digi sword they talked about at the end of Higurashi, plus that's featured in Sotsu and Go.
Griffiths の血の汚れは水や布の手縫いでは洗い流すことができないでしたか？確か以前もあなたから同じようなことを一度言われた記憶があります。それに対して私は適切な対処法をあなたの要望でお教えしたかと思いましたが。そうだったか？
I tried playing dumb at Ryu and Oak's honest reminder, but I gave up on making further excuses because the biggest reason was that I slacked off, since actually tending to the blade was a pain in the ass. Since my long-time friend's a super integrated circuit, yeah, you know, it comes with the territory. It's like being friends, your best friend's chat GPT. They don't just get straight to the point. It's only natural she'd record every little thing I say or do in our time together, so I can't talk my way out of anything with her. On that response, the sword engulfed in the light dissolved into particles, turning into a fist-sized sphere that danced through the space before being sucked into the source of the light. This is so weird, by the way. I'm just still so shocked. This is so different. The Hanyu art we've been waiting for. Desu?
この作業に対して消極的な思考を持つことは私の存在意義を自ら否定するということになります。ゆえに
Okay, okay.
ああ、わかっている。そういう意味ではなくてな。つまり
I smiled bitterly as I explained the meaning and the intent behind my gratitude, to which Ryun answered, I see. So far I've taught her all sorts of meaningless ways to talk in order to kill my boredom. It's the epitome of self-satisfaction, but it's proven useful for killing time in my long existence. Thanks to my effort, she stared lightly, reprimanding me and asking me questions rather than simply affirming my reports like in the old days. 思考回路および言語中枢を更新しました。以後、
対応に努めます。ところでジェダ、大陸の任務はいかがでしたか？
上々とは言い難いが、
The mainland. Wonder what that means.
他のジェダたちと共にグリフィスの所在地を一通り
Probably
確認して
like another world.
危険区域にはできうる限りの予防策を打ってきた。これが機能すれば当分グリフィスの突発的な暴走は抑止できるだろう。
Though some of that was admittedly wishful thinking. We poured our blood, sweat, and tears into establishing nigh-perfect countermeasures this time. If this doesn't work, then all our efforts and casualties will have been a total waste.
相当の激戦だったと先ほどのお言葉にもありましたが。
ああ、転戦の連続に加えて規模も広範囲にわたってどこもかしこも文字通りの死闘だった。とりあえず元凶となっていたグリフィスたちは大量に処分したが、私が無事に帰還できたのはおそらく運が良かっただけだろう。
あなたほどの手だれがですか？
Come on, teammate skills.
群れの動きが異常に素早くてな。分散して行動されていれば少々厄介だった。特定地域に密集していたので確固に撃破してなんとか片付いたが。
The ones who had been in charge of the specific areas at the start were almost all wiped out. I couldn't help but shudder at the thought of being in their shoes.
それにしても処分。今回はグリフィスの鬼化があったのですか？
Demified. Demified. Okay, so they're not normally like that. Maybe they're similar, like looking to Hanyu, where they're humanoid with horns, but these guys were like Oni'd.
末期症状で救いようがなかった。
Oh god, do they suffer from something similar to Hinamizawa syndrome? Just the ancient version? And that's how that got passed on to the villagers?
周辺の町村へも襲撃して深刻な被害をもたらしていた。
Well, maybe we'll see. Here we go. The demonification, I guess it's demonification. Ryun Ot spoke of just now is a phenomenon where the body structure of berserk griffies develops abnormally, turning them into monstrous beasts. Griffies with this condition lose all sense of reason, and are driven only by destructive and murderous impulses to destroy, ravage, and kill anything in their path. Since they're impervious to most physical attacks and can quickly regenerate, most wounds, no being from this planet can oppose such a threat. The settlements they visited right before the decisive battle on the mainland in particular were gruesome. Ooh. You can thumbnail this if you don't get a CG. Some cool ass art. I remember back, I think it was in either Watanashi or Mayatashi when they first showed this style with the Onis. I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. Unique style. Glad we're seeing it again. Every man, woman, and child was found with their limbs torn, heads crushed, and guts devoured as though mauled by beasts. It was so cruel that there's no way to bury them or hold a memorial. We burnt the whole settlement down as a cremation. Every last piece of that horror is covered to Ryun Ok as images via her synchronization with my memories. One screen after another opens up in this void, replaying the spectacles I witnessed.
ひどいですね。
Even though she could only be giving a pre-programmed response, there's a hint of gloom in her voice. No, maybe that's my sentimentality talking. After all, Ryun Ok isn't equipped with the circuits to possess emotions beyond my input.
大陸の連中に加え、各地から集められた他のピトゥスたちとも連携して討伐に当たったのだが、それでも半数近くがやられた。油断して不意をつかれたとはいえ、遅れを取るとは情けない話だがな。
いえ、それだけではないかと。 確かに過去の事例と比較しても、今回のグリフィスたちは全て凶暴性の度合いが段違いです。
Munok quietly stated that as she analyzed the battle footage, watching the Jeddah facing off against giant Griffiths, dominating and rampaging with their claws and
し
fangs.
かも、ただ力任せに暴れ回っていた以前とは違って、
They did
動きと行動
plan
に
an
一定
ambush
の規則性が見られます。
Hanyu. I'm just gonna call her Hanyu.
故に、
Her
生息
other
の
name's
申し上げ
too hard.
知性を失っていない可能
Yusamal.
性が高いかと思われます。
Yeah, that's true. One of them was smart, at least. Or I guess that all of them, even if they couldn't properly talk, they still could follow orders. So it's like it's a mutation in the mutation, where they're not just berserking. They got the berserk strength, but can still kind of think straight.
長年の異種交配の影響か
Ooh,
な
there you go. Cross breeding. It's a premonition of. Are they really gonna fuck? Now that I think about it, these Griffies and just Hinamizawan people.
もはや
If it goes
我々
exactly as the
の
lore
再が始まり
says.
つつあるようだ
I guess if they're normal, then maybe it's fine. Otherwise, it's kinda weird. Gap up between them and Putus
元を正せば
fading
奴
away.
らも我らが同胞なるべく助けたいと考えていたが今後は難しくなるだろうな
I gave a dreary sigh after saying that. The original duty of us observers was, as the name indicated, to observe the actions of our brethren and investigate whether they were coexisting peacefully with the natives on the land. Since Griffies had a high probability of acting abnormally due to their composition, we were given the authority to give them appropriate treatment and take proper measures based on our own judgment. Therefore, executing a Griffies was allowed as nothing less than an emergency measure to prevent disaster from spreading or for self-defense. But for the past few decades, instead of helping my brethren, I've been sent on nothing but missions to hunt down Griffies who've gone berserk and turned into monsters. Perhaps Executioner was a more fitting title than Observer. Also, while damages from Griffies' rampages and demonifications had decreased, their scale and threat were only growing. As a result, us Putis, who originally boasted an overwhelming superiority to Griffies, now found ourselves suffering many injuries, even casualties in our skirmishes with them.
この調子ではこの世界の人間たちは
Ooh.
グリフィスによって食い尽くされてしまうかもしれ
Is
ない
it time to genocide a whole species?
だが各地のジェダをはじめこの世界におけるピトゥスは数が減る一方だ我々だけでそれをどこまで食い止められるか
Maybe they're not aliens. Maybe they do just live on Earth among us. And they're just like super high tech. I mean, maybe they're aliens, but they don't like to live in the sea of fragments. They live on Earth, just from what they're talking about. But I don't know what the mainland is. Unless they're just, I don't know. Obviously, it's could be a reference to Japan, but I don't think that's it, right?
ジェダ、
新天地を求めた末
Oh,
第二の故郷を滅ぼす
well.
か
There goes all that talk. So they've probably had an original world. Or no, homeland.
これでは侵略者だな
Their homeland is their original world, so they do travel around. Okay.
我々竜は
Okay, so there's Putis, Griffies, and they're part of the Ryun. The world my parents, the world the Ryun clan lived in, was wiped out long ago. There you go. Was it due to war, natural disasters, or disease? I was born and raised on this world, so I've got no clue. Anyway, the Ryun abandoned their home to escape disaster, and chose to cross dimensions and evacuate to this world to survive. Oh, there you go. They accomplished this via phase transition. The bodies and minds of all creatures are comprised of a collection of electronic signals and subatomic particles that possess a fixed mass, in other words, information. So theoretically, it's possible to move objects by converting them to fixed charged particles, transferring them to a different world, then reconstructing the information at the destination. Yeah, this is totally true. I remember learning this in grade 10 physics slash biology class. I don't know science at all. To BH. Based on this theory, my ancestors, the Ryun clan, developed phase transition technology, which is classified as parascience in this world. If only they knew. Researchers invented Linosis device that used said phase transition to mediate interdimensional travel to save the Ryun clan. Once they were completed, the Ryun clan implemented a large-scale immigration plan, and the refugees were sent to a world in another dimension, one after another. Okay, so they went to a bunch of different worlds. However, according to Ryun Ott's records, the destruction of the Ryun homeworld progressed faster than expected, sending the urgency of the immigration plan through the roof. It is said that the refugees, in their desperation to escape the crisis, fell into mass hysteria and lost their cool, rushing to Lionosis at once and gradually escalating the situation beyond control. And thus, in order to deal with the enormous number of people, the formerly orderly and regulated immigration plan grew sloppier and pushier. Perhaps that chaos was only inevitable in the face of a literal life and death emergency like that. However, that caused a major problem. The phase transition process actually had a defect. When transferring something to another dimension, it resists objects that exceed a fixed mass. Therefore, a mass transfer of mental information pertaining to one's individuality, such as memories and personalities, is possible, but physical objects such as bodies are unable to pass through the linos, creating a deviation between the information signals and the object. In short, the mind gets separated from the body. However, this risk only came to light after the majority of the Ryun clan had transferred, leaving them with no way to deal with it. And as a result, most people lost their bodies in the process of passing through the Lionos. I would think so too.
それはいいことよりも悪いことの方が多かったようにも思えるのだがな。
Right. Fortunately, the Ryun clan were by nature creatures whose physical and mental makeup was bonded together by higher order molecules. And possessed powerful charge and high information storage ability. So they could maintain their life source solely with mental information such as their personality for a fixed time after losing their bodies. Because of that, they lost their bodies and immigrated here as this world calls ghosts, in other words, as astral bodies, excuse me? Proof that all ghosts are actually aliens?
とはいえ、いつまでも肉体を持たないままではいかなかった。
Those astral bodies, with their intermittent molecular coupling and detachment, have a powerful ability to interfere with nearby organic matter due to the strong electrical charge. As such, if they continue to act in that state for a long period of time, they run the risk of altering their sense of self via unintentional accretion of the various information that compromises this world. And at the same time, there's no denying the possibility that this could have negative effects on other creatures, like interfering with their genetic information and rewriting it. Thus, they decided to seek a creature of this world as a medium to possess in order to stabilize their mental information. Those creatures were humans, those who had the greatest capacity to accumulate knowledge. First, the Ryun clan would possess the bodies of human larvae who hadn't developed personalities yet, fetuses. Next, they synchronized their consciousness with the fetuses as their brain and nervous system developed, fusing with the original personality over a long period of time before eventually maturing into a single personality, in other words, assimilation. Okay, basically taking over the fetus and kind of rebirthing yourself, or reincarnating yourself is a better word for it. The downside was that the Ryun would lose the majority of their memories prior to the possession. Still, it allowed them to survive and retain their original personalities, so many of them went with that option. Furthermore, the simulated humans would inherit fragments of the Ryun's information, construction ability, memory ability, and creativity from before the possession. For example, how to handle a fire after erasing their fear of it, and the invention of writing as a means to store and pass down information, and other developments such as mathematics to rationally improve social activities. Therefore, those abilities would blossom as they grew, and they would contribute to all sorts in the fields in this world, exhibiting all kinds of knowledge and skills ahead of their time. Damn, dude. Confirmed all geniuses are aliens? Yo, my eyes are opened. Thank you, Higurashi. As a result, humans came to possess a much higher cultural standard compared to other creatures, and their civilization grew by leaps and bounds. We only became the dominant species because of aliens. Nice. I assume that Griffies came from this assimilation stuff, I think. It happened one year when assimilation activities reached their peak. A serious epidemic spread through this world. It is speculated that the pathogen was a mutational outbreak and may have been brought by the Ryun clan as an after effects of phase transitioning to this world. Oh my god, aliens caused all the major diseases in the world? Caused the bird flu? Caused COVID? Whatever the case, human birth rates and infant survival rates dramatically decreased as a result. And so the astral bodies who chosen to possess them died one after another without fully assimilating them with them. This situation caused a commotion amongst our brethren who were searching for hosts while still in their astral form after arriving late to this world. After all, their power to maintain their individuality while in their astral bodies could only be used up, not accumulated, and if that situation continued for long, their personalities would decay and vanish. Still, it was too risky to possess fetuses and infants, who were extremely weak to the pathogen. Okay. And so with that thought, some of our brethren, who wanted to increase their chances of survival as much as possible, began possessing not infants, but rather children, and even those on the cusp of adolescence. But this turned out to be the worst possible choice, with negative effects on the Ryuan, as well as the humans they possessed. In the first place, Ryuan astral bodies were able to assimilate by possessing humans over a period of time as infants, when their personalities were barely formed. Yeah, it's like taking over a blank slate. Well, they're trying to take over a slate that's already been developed, so obviously there's going to be some clashing, I assume. So, if they instead possessing those whose personalities had already partially formed, it would lead to a conflict and rejection with their original personality. In other words, the two personalities would fight over a single body. So naturally, they would engage in a fierce mental struggle to drive the other one out, and the winner would be left with serious injuries. As a result, the competing personalities and individualities fell apart, their thoughts decayed, and more people appeared displaying abnormal behavior. Us Jeddah call those of our brethren who possess these problematic factors Griffies, or half-bloods. Furthermore, amongst Griffies with serious symptoms are those whose accelerated physical growth process goes out of control due to the effects of their genetic makeup, getting mixed up during the assimilation process. The resulting brutality, strength, and overly aggressive impulses manifest as causing harm to nearby natives and brethren alike. Also, there were some of us who had been living peacefully but turned into Griffies via the mental interference ability emanated by other Griffies. Oh shit. They can change them. On the mainland, they're linked to monsters such as vampires and ghouls that can infect others. Vampires and ghouls are aliens? God damn. Everything's a reunion, man. In other words, those who seem to be turn abnormal after coming into contact with them are in fact our brethren, who possess the reunion factor within them. Furthermore, when Griffies reach terminal symptoms, they physically mutate to a menacing appearance and abilities, the so-called demonification. As a result, Griffies who have gone berserk change into beasts, who lose their sense of reason and literally become demons who attack humans. The Griffies have rampaged, raged, and dominated in many different places, leading to the rise of all sorts of urban legends. Man-eating demons, soul-stealing devils, ghosts who wield mysterious strength. The birth of religions and magic in the same time period is likely related to these influences. Excuse me, Jesus was an alien? With no physical way for native humans to resist those berserk Griffies, all they could do was flee their onslaught. After all, while their civilization has progressed by leaps and bounds thanks to our assimilated brethren, they still couldn't make up for their brittle bodies. Apparently, there were some brave souls who formed factions dedicated to using all available arms to repel the Griffies, but those almost always ended in a tragedy. However, saviors appeared before them, those who possessed the power to oppose the tyranny of the Griffies and strove to stabilize the world while maintaining reason. The ones who advocated that and took up arms against them were from the Ryun clan, much like the monsters, earlier immigrants who had luckily managed to arrive in this world with their original bodies intact. Okay, so there's like the Ryun who attach to children that become Griffies. There's the Ryun who attach to babies who basically they're just humans with knowledge of the Ryun and well not necessarily. They're just like genius humans. And like Hanyu, I guess, or like other like the ones with the horns. The badass ones are like the pure blood ones, I think.
この世界に生み出し、無用の悲劇を持ち込んでしまったのは、我らが龍雲の民すべての在郷であり、責任である。故に我らは、我ら自身の手で最悪の目を
Base, clean up your mess, please. Thank you. Though at the same time, they did make humanity the dominant species, so giveth and taketh. Since they hadn't lost their original bodies, they still possessed their high physical and mental capabilities even after transferring here. And so, as the enemies of the monstrified Griffies, they dubbed themselves as Putus, purebloods. Okay, that's what Putus means. Putus. The Putus decided that stopping the rampaging of the Griffies was their race's duty and responsibility, and thus set out to deal with the incidents caused by the Griffies all across the land. And then the 16 Putus families who played a central part in these duties were eventually called the High among our brethren. Hey? Furthermore, the Jedha, a family who possessed powerful combat abilities even amongst the other 15 families, took on the role of observers to keep an eye on the berserk Griffies and their descendants. Thanks to the Putus' efforts, Griffies who had been causing mayhem in various areas were gradually hunted down, and the natives of this world who had been on the verge of destruction regained their original peace. In that sense, the work of us Putus may have contributed to the preservation of this world, even if only a little. But even those of us with such outstanding abilities had a tragic fate.
そういえばジェダ、今回大陸には他のジェダと一緒に赴かれたと聞いておりましたが、それは以前お会いしたシーツェンジェダですか？
Yeah, I think they mentioned her in the first chapter.
ジェダ？
That's death music.
そのシーツェンがこたびの戦でやられた。彼女だけではない。今回のグリフィスとの戦闘で
4!
4名が命を落とした。これでジェダの名を継ぐ者はとうとう私を含めても数名になってしまった。
大陸でもジェダの子がいたと聞きましたが、
皆流行り病で
Damn.
したそうだ。ただでさえ肺は子を宿しにくいというのに。
I let out a dreary sigh. I didn't want to lie. The tragic fate imposed on us Putus was our extremely low birth rate. I had a crackpot theory just now. I was saying, what if this isn't Hanyu, but the robot girl? And she eventually just... And she follows Rita. Because Rita's like like, one of the last Jedi descendants or whatever. And then, like, as Yisumo's been talking about, she's been constantly programming Ryu into that, like, a personality and stuff, and maybe she develops a personality and becomes Hanyu. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. That'd be a cool twist. That I figured out. Surely, you know. It's a twist, okay? Let's see. The tragic fate imposed on us Putus was our extremely low birth rate. Damn, Rita really was a miracle. Or that whole family line then. While the Ryuin did indeed live rather long, they were by no means immortal. Thus the Putus focused their efforts on the birthing and rearing of children at the same time as the execution of their mission, but successes were few and far between. I was one of those very rare exceptions. And with this previous mission, I had finally become the last exception. Ooh, all the new bloods are dead.
シーツェンはグリフィスの奴らに不意を打たれて駆けつけた時には一足遅かった。20年前の借りを返すつもりであったのに。
そうですか。
Now that I was saying it out loud, I felt the regret I nearly forgotten welling right back up. Shezhen Jetta was one of my fellow observers, who had been assigned to this region south of the island nation's capital. Like me, she was one of the few select Ryun born in this world, so her death hit the elders just as hard. With her death, I was now the only young Putus left. In other words, the only Putus with no memories of Mother Ryuin.
お察しします。シーツェンは私にとっても頼れるジェダの一人でした。
私以上に無口であまり親しい付き合いではなかったが、大陸から戻った後は奴の国を訪れる約束をしていた。だがまさか弔いに足を運ぶことになるとはな。
ジェダ。
すまない。少々感傷的になってしまった。疲れているだけだ。聞き流してくれ。
はい。
But, though she said that, Ryun ought linked to my consciousness, so she can tell exactly what I'm thinking, and so she must know that this sorrow isn't based in loneliness, but a stronger sense of emptiness, as well as a sense of isolation, bordering on despair.
生ある限り必ず死ぬとはどこかの宗教家のセリフだったか。
So sometimes I'd ponder what my death would be like, as the youngest and probably final Ryuin. Would I pass away sadly while reflecting on being the last one? Would I fall into a lonely eternal sleep with no one to care for me? Either way, I couldn't see any sort of light at the end of this tunnel. That's why it hurt. I wasn't scared of death, but the thought of it was so lonesome.
ジェダ、
リューンオーク、私が臨終を迎えるのは一体いつのことなのだろうな。
それは
お前には見えるか？私が最後どんな死を迎えることになるか。せめて見届ける者がいる臨終ではありたいとは思うがな。
Ryun Oak doesn't answer. Is it because it's not her inner pre-programmed responses, or... Either way, I don't know.
ところでリューンオーク、話は変わるが、20年前にこの村に出没した例のピトゥス、その出自は判明したか？
実は私もあなたにお伺いしたいと考えておりました。どうですか、ジェダ。
私が突き止めていたのならば、お前に尋ねるはずがなかろう。ということは、お前も結局わからなかったのか。
申し訳ありません。各方面のライ
Another
ブスとも情報
human.
共有を行っ
Or
たの
another
ですが、
Putus male.
残念ながら現時点でも有力な手がかりをつかんでおりません。
そうか。
It was about 20 years ago, by this world's time demonitions. A demon with a vast power arrived in Onidafuchi village out of nowhere. And thanks to his influence, local Griffies, who all possessed the factors, simultaneously demonified, and started attacking the villagers they coexisted with. Fortunately, my combat abilities exceeded all of theirs, so I managed to suppress them, but that didn't mean the story immediately ended happily ever after. Because the demon who caused the Griffies to demonify and led them was in fact a berserk Putus. What the? Infected? Now that I do remember her calling that talking Griffies a Putus, so I guess I shouldn't even call it a Griffies.
しかし、あの事件で先導していたのは私たちと同じピトゥス。一体どうしたことなのか。
わかりません。ピトスが現地の人間を襲うことなど、少なくとも今までには決してなかったことです。
Putus's rampages were a rare phenomenon to begin with, to say nothing of Putus demonification. Because of the fact that they transferred to this world with their bodies intact was proof of their mental stability. Or stability, I should say. Stability. And I checked with the elders, but it was very likely that they were a high. Meaning someone who opposed Griffies just like us suddenly went berserk and started attacking the local natives, as well as fellow Putus.
グリフィスたちが一斉に鬼化したのは、おそらくピュトスの持つ強い精神干渉が影響を及ぼしたものと思われます。そのため通常の場合では、体内の因子を暴走させないはずの抵抗力を持った人々も精神状態が不安定になり、適性の高いものが同調して鬼化してしまったものかと。
厄介だな。もしもそのような周囲への干渉能力を持つピトゥスが他にも存在しているのだとすれば、苦心して築き上げた暴発への対策がその襲来で全て打ち砕かれるということだからな。
So this like berserking stuff obviously becomes Hinamizawa syndrome. I was gonna say, do all the villagers have the demon blood in them? And even if they do, it doesn't matter because like Keiichi gets infected and stuff. So obviously all this demonification stuff becomes a disease strictly located in Hinamizawa. Maybe that's why like Kani or Yashiro-sama isolates the village to kind of keep the disease and the infection contained, maybe. And what's more, a Putus' strength is in an entirely different lead than a Griffey's, so when used in full force, it's easily capable of burying a settlement or two, or even an entire country. In fact, though my life wasn't in danger, if I had arrived at this village even only a little later, my brethren and the native humans could have all been wiped out.
ピトゥスの鬼化が途上であったことも。
Okay, so it wasn't a full one. If by chance he'd been fully demonified, then as a woman, even I, currently praised as the strongest, Ryuin would have stood no chance of victory. Furthermore, I had the advantage the whole time thanks to the surprise attack and Shizen support, but I can't help but shudder at the thought of what could have happened had things been different.
現在も出元については探索中です。騒動のルフドアイから推察すれば、いずれか近隣のライノスの管轄にあったピトスかと。ただ、ライノスも今や半数以上が老朽化して機能を停止しているため、情報の完全把握は難しい状況です。
構わぬ。とりあえず何か判明したら逐一欠かさずに教えてくれ。それから機能している周辺のライノスには注意を促しておくことを忘れずにな。
はい。ところでジェダの今後の予定は？
そうだな。私はしばらくこの村に滞在して動向を見守ることにしよう。例のピトゥスを打ち果たしたとはいえ、その影響と余波が完全に消えてなくなったとは思えない。念のため指揮表となる金閣を水源地に散布して、その
A what marker? Oh, okay. Testing the water? It's like a chlorine test? Ryun's evasive answer puzzled me. After all, normally she'd never give an ambiguous response like that.
なんだ、何か問題があるのか？
いえ、ユーリタへの対応としては問題がありません。ただ、せっかくこの地に帰ってきたのですから、少々休息をされてはいかがかと思いましたので。
休息だと
I instinctively snickered at that unexpected suggestion.
いいなことを言う。グリフィスを打ち果たすがために生きる我らジェダを支援する役目の思い。
Hey,
私に使命を忘れて。
some rest could help you do your mission better.
どういう風の吹き回しだ？
無礼を承知で申し上げます。ジェダ、あなたは疲れています。それも心身ともに深刻なほど。
Exactly.
ゆえに、しば
Gotta
らく
balance it, you know?
強く推奨させていただきます。
疲れなど、私は。
その証拠がこれです。
Ryun displayed various numeral diagrams and illustrations in front of me after saying that. They indicated my physical state. In particular, there was indeed an irregular disorder in my movements and delay in my judgment. In the battle footage viewed earlier, even I couldn't help but click my tongue when each and every error was pointed out to me. Owned. Owned again.
無理をしすぎです。ある意味では意固地になっているとも言えます。自らを守るだけならいざ知らず、共に戦う同胞を支え、襲撃を受けた人間たちをもかばおうとしています。能力の限界を超えて。私はリューンの技術によって作られ、リューンの理念によって構築されました。故にジェダ、あなたの任務に対する真摯な意識は模範的であり、あなたの行為も全く正しいものであると理解し、評価もしております。ただ、リューンの過ちではなく、この世界の先住民、人間自身の運命にまで干渉することは、責任を持つべき範囲を凌駕しているとも思われるのです。
She might be the strongest, but she is just one individual.
それは、
Can't do everything.
リューンの故郷にも、この世界で神と呼ばれる存在がありました。すべての運命を作り出し、世にあまねく万物の命を左右することができる権威と力を持ったものとされる象徴です。実際、私の記録媒体によると、かつての故郷の崩壊末期には、来たる終末の日は神の怒りによるものだと、定冠の果てに運命を受け入れた者も多数いたとあります。
自殺願望者だ、それは。
しかし、 そこでも神は絶対のものであり、それがもたらした運命は誰にも揺るがし得ないものでした。
Well, I mean, if this is on you, this is where she gets can't fight fate pilled.
なのに、あなたはその神に挑もうとしている。そして、それが不可能であることにも、あなたは気づいている。違いますか？ジェダ。あなたの
Jeddah.
真摯さは素晴らしいと思います。ですが、もうそこまで自分を追い込む必要はないのではありませんか？あなたはジェダである前に、竜の民。この世界に新たな故郷を見出した移民の子なのです。だから、
よくもまあずけずけと言ってくるものだ。随分と我らに近い存在に成長したものだな、リューンウォーク。
ジェダ。
すまない、言い過ぎた。
Damn, dude. Why you got up? It's just looking after you. No bully. Even I noticed that my tone's grown pretty harsh, so I sincerely apologized. I'm not sure if Ryun ought understands my apology, but even so, in all my years of knowing her, she's been a valuable conversation partner, and I never wanted to treat her like an object.
お前にまで同じことを言われるとはな。え？なんでもない。
I shrugged instead of answering, and looked up and replied with a slight jest.
休み云々はまたの機会の戦技として。疲れているのはお前の見立て通りかもしれない。今日は水浴びでもして出直すとしよう。それでいいか？
わかりました。場所はいつものところですか？
ああ、あそこなら人目にもつきにくいしな。
念のためにですが、ジェダ。あの辺りは最近、隣の山から獣がいくつか移り住んできています。猛獣の類もいるそうなので気をつけてください。
私が獣ごときに遅れを取る。
Yeah, I think even without her sword, she's probably stronger than a mountain lion. I don't even know what's in. Are there mountain lions in
です
Japan?
ね。
Bears. It's definitely bears.
無用の注意、失礼しました。
I mean, I don't know, man. A grizzly is pretty spooky.
それではまたな。
I turned around after that answer. Light covered my vision again, and at the same time, a floaty sensation raced through me. Beam me back down.
ジェダ、違うのでしょ？あなたがジェダを続ける理由は、むしろ。
Damn, of course you didn't finish your sentence. Classic. I walked from Onidafuchi deeper into the forest on the mountainside and ended up on a slope with bare rocks. It was there that a spring turned into a mountain stream that fed the swamp, and even further in was a waterfall and a small watering hole.
ここも前のままだな。
Is he gonna meet Rita's ancestor here? If it's been 20 years, so the kid's an adult now. The baby. Countless trees stood tall on the slope a little bit above, and I could see what appeared to be several beast trails. However, the depths of the watering hole were in the shadow of the rock, so with that and the roar of the waterfall, it was likely no one would notice me even if they came by. So I could kick back and relax here without having to worry about prying eyes. So she thought. I took off the cloak I was wearing and casually hung it on a nearby tree, then returned from my astral body to my solid body. Normally, we Putus turn into our astral forms whenever we're not fighting, allowing us to evade human eyes. The ability to convert from a visible solid body into an invisible astral body is one of the special abilities the Putus obtain during the phase transition. But it doesn't just affect your visibility. When in astral form, you're freed from the limitations of this world's laws of physics, such as contact with objects and air resistance. It wasn't an ability I used frequently in times of peace, but I deliberately used it to avoid frightening the villagers with my
ただ
appearance.
実体でなければ水や風の感覚を楽しめないというのは。
Yeah, is there even a point of taking a bath? at that point. I muttered that in my head, and I stepped into the watering hole completely naked and sunk myself in. I couldn't help but smile at the comforting coolness of it. Plop. Oh, shit. Never mind. Look at our CG now. This is flying close to the sun, actually. What the heck? I bathed in many rivers. Maybe I should put a little sensor just covering the butt a little. I don't know, it's too curvy. Maybe, I don't know, we'll just leave it. What's the worst that can happen? But I like this one the best. The sunlight filtering through the trees sparkled gently off the water, creating a cozy atmosphere. The air was a bit lively, with the sounds of the birds chirping off in the distance. Occasionally, I noticed freshwater fish moving into the shadows of the rocks, and the comfort of directly bathing in the modest waterfall spread through my whole body. The amount of water was just perfect for combing and washing my long hair. I leaned against the rock and parted my wet bangs, while thinking back on what Ryun Ok had
あ
said.
なたはその神に挑もうとしている。そしてそれが不可能であることにもあなたは気づいている。違いますか？
違わないさ。分かっているんだ。それくらいは。
I said that to myself and sighed. The elders said the same thing when I went to say goodbye after completing my mission.
グリフィスの調査を打ち切る？
I think we're gonna end here. Of course, classic Aiden style, it's gonna end the chapter in like 10 minutes, but we're at the hour mark. That's usually good for me. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Lots of bad story, basically. Aliens made the humans prosper. Aliens are also vampires and every other supernatural being. Aliens were literal demons too. Aliens caused all religions. Everyone who is a genius is an alien. And yeah, aliens. Anyways, that's for watching. See you next time. Bye. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It was a good one. It was a little slow of a chapter, but enjoyable. Lots of lore just dropped. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you next time at this arc. See ya.